Welcome everybody to the fourth and final week of One Deck One Month featuring Marincess Act 2. We are starting things off this week with a very special mail day. I don't know if this is starting to be some kind of like custom or tradition, but it always seems that like at the end of certain One Deck One Month series, we kind of upgrade our deck in like a special way. And I want to take a moment to thank somebody for helping us do that. His name is Greedy G in my Discord, and apparently he's from Switzerland. And a few weeks back, he reached out to me and said, hey, I want to do something to give back to you in the channel. How about some foreign Marincess cards? And I, knowing me, I'm a absolute demon when it comes to foreign cards. I love the way they look. Europrint cards just really appeal to me. They say you like what you don't have. I know people over there like English cards, and we over here tend to like Europrint cards. At least I do personally. I know some people don't really care for the difference, but us men of culture, we know the difference and we like it quite a bit. So right here I have a package of just a few Marincess cards that he was kind enough to send my way free of charge. Extremely kind dude, and I want to take a moment in this video to go ahead and give a huge shout out to him. If you're watching, again, thank you very much, and thank you to your friend who helped send these over and who made this whole thing possible. I really appreciate it. We'll go over more detail about what cards we got specifically here in a moment. Also got a fresh package of sleeves from Imperium Duelist. Also some sick border sleeves here. I'm not sure if these sleeves are out yet for them. I don't know if I've seen these on their website before. Might be like an early thing, I don't know. But very cool of them. Shout outs to Imperium Duelist. Thank you guys for sending me awesome stuff all the time. And if you guys want to support the channel by shopping on their website, don't forget you can do so at the link below, and you can use my discount code WinterKills10 off at checkout. Also, another thing I wanted to show you guys is he sent over one of his German River Stormers that he has here. Obviously, Earth Machine, one of my favorite decks of all time. Huge fan favorite deck here in the channel. And he requested that I sign it and send it back to his friend to take back overseas in a few weeks' time. So I've done that here for him, and can't wait for him to get it in the mail when his friend returns over to what I assume to be Switzerland, where he is from. So again, huge shout outs to Greedy G. And now I want to go ahead and take a quick moment to actually go over what the deck list actually looks like as we start things off this week. It is currently Tuesday, and I know I've been doing things a little bit differently the past couple weeks. I haven't been prioritizing Tuesday locals so much the past couple weeks because I've been doing other things. This week, we are starting here on Tuesday. I do have locals in like 2.5 hours or so, and I'm gonna pull up my list here on Wikipedia as and I'll show it up here on the screen for you guys to see. Everything is pretty much standard. Extra deck hasn't changed. Like I said, I think the extra deck is like pretty much solved. There really isn't anything to change about that. We have our normal main deck Marincess lineup. I did think about going up to a second Battle Ocean, but there really just isn't room for it. Like I could go over 40, which I definitely don't want to do. Like I need to see a starter card or you just literally lose in this deck. Like we're already having hands where you just draw hands of all hand traps. So I definitely don't want to make the deck any more inconsistent. The hand trap lineup is what is slightly changing though. We're on 3 Imperm, 2 Nibiru, 2 Ghost Bell, 2 Veilers, 3 DD Crow, 3 Ash. That I think is going to be our hand trap lineup for today. I really didn't want to commit to 3 Nibiru because it's terrible against the tier element strategy, and it's pretty okay against like everything else I want to say, except for maybe like Tri Brigade, although it can come up against Tri Brigade. And the reason like specifically here in our local scene, there's a lot of tier players. I think last week, our Saturday breakdown, there was 7 tier limit players in the entire room, which is a lot. So like I really don't want to be mating 3 Nibiru into a room of that many tier players. If I were to take this deck to a bigger event, I honestly don't know how I'd build it. I have to take a lot of time to sit down and think about it, and I'll probably get to doing that over the course of the week as we head into Saturday. But I definitely think Nib belongs in the main. It's a card I definitely don't want to like not play, especially in a deck like Marincess that can afford to play it. Whereas like other decks like, Rika, for example, really don't have the opportunity to do so if you're playing things like an Unexpected Die, where you need to have a clean field to be able to resolve your best cards. That's just an example, right? And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Triple T staying in the main deck for sure. And the only other thing too was the side deck. That's what I last left off with when I was working on this deck earlier today. Right now it's just a Pank, the third Nib, the Abyss Dweller, a Call by the Grave for going first as I'm not maining it right now. 3 Cosmic Cyclones, 3 Ghost and Match, and I'm going with Red Reboot, as I typically don't like Red Reboot in decks like this, but definitely wouldn't mind another out to things like TC Boo and Skill Drain, etc., etc. Even if it means we can get into like, you know, Toad to negate stuff, or we can, you know, just set up a board and try to OTK. Like Reboot doesn't seem like that fantastic in here, but it's just such an insane card. I really like Reboot and OTK decks, but I want to try it in the side. The third Ghost Bell might find its way into the side too. It might be Ghost Ogre as well, although Ghost Ogre is really only good against adventurer stuff. Like, it's halfway decent against the Sprite stuff, because it obviously can hit Gigantic Sprite, but so can Valor, so can Imperm, so can Ash, right? There's so many other things that can hit Gigantic Sprite. We don't really need to rely on Ghost Ogre to do that. And Bell, I think, just comes up against, actually comes up against the Sprite matchup for stopping Elf, and for stopping Toad add back, and for also stopping Ronin Toadin from coming out, so there's some decent synergy there. And obviously great against Tearlament and any other matchup too, like even against like Tri-Brigade, which is pretty popular out of locals for hitting Revolt. I think we like literally have all of our bases covered. Just trying to figure out what this last like couple of cards is gonna be in the side deck. I have 4 slots right now. 4 slots. We're trying Pankratops too, because I think Pank's kind of cracked. I think I want it to be some kind of board breaker. I think. I don't know which one I want it to be. I don't really like Dark Ruler in this deck, because that puts a lot of pressure on the engine itself to like wipe a field. So it might be something like Evenly Matched, because it's good against back row and combo. Abyss Dweller staying in the side too. We're keeping that. Goes and matches. Yeah. That's pretty much all I wanted to say though regarding the deck list. So we're going to go into locals today. We're going to play Marincess. Feeling very excited to put in these new foreign cards here, which I'll go ahead and show you guys in just a second. I'll just throw them up on the screen here for some B-roll. We did get 1 copy of Aqua Argonaut, so that's going to look beautiful. We've got 3 copies of Spring Girl in French, again, all French. 1 copy of Mandarin, because you guys know I do like Mandarin, especially in the Abyss Shark build. I like it over Sleepy Maiden. We got ourselves a Grande Boule Marincess. I probably butchered that, but Bubble Reef. He was also kind enough to send me a Water Charmer in French as well. A copy of Crystal Heart, which we aren't currently running, but if we want to, we can play a French copy to match. 2 copies of Sleepy Maiden, and a copy of the Marbled Rock, which is honestly what I'm most excited about. This Marbled Rock looks absolutely gorgeous in Secret Rare. And he also sent me this Bear as well, which is pretty cool too. So thank you again, Greedy G, for sending over those amazing cards. And I'm going to go ahead and sleeve all of this stuff up now. Get the extra deck, well, not the extra deck build, but get the main and the side all fully built together, and then we're off to locals, and then we're going to review a match or 2 and see how everything went. This is the thing I forgot to show you guys. This is what I actually ended up picking up, I think, a couple weeks ago. Starlight Rare Iria the Water Charmer Gentle. You guys might have seen me summon this a time or 2 on a match that we might have gone over. I don't know yet. But yeah, huge shout outs to my friend Sale for giving me an amazing deal on this card. Super proud to own it. And yeah, looks absolutely gorgeous. So I've been meaning to show that to you guys for a while. I think I've just forgotten about it, which is mind-boggling to me, because this card is absolutely gorgeous, and it's the only triple sleeve card in the extra deck. And if you know how much this card is, totally understandable. All right, so to start off our Tuesday match recap, we are going to be taking a look at our round 3 match where we played against Cyber Therion. Not like, you know, the most common, like, deck we'll probably be playing against in this format, but this was still a really interesting match. It was a very grindy match. It did go the distance, and I feel like there are a lot of things that I can kind of point out in this, you know, to help improve my play, maybe to help you guys improve with your gameplay if you end up playing a deck like Marincess. Maybe if I've convinced you to play the deck at the end of the series, you know, hopefully some of the stuff I talk about in this match will be very helpful to you guys. Round 1, I played against Pure Punk, won that one 2-0, real clean. The sheer amount of hand traps just cleans that matchup really easy. And then in round 2, we played against Sprite. We won that one 2-1 as well. Same thing can be said there. The sheer amount of hand traps in the deck just goes so far in helping you beat those very specific decks. But this is like, you know, not a mainstream deck to play against. It's pretty strong, honestly. But I feel like, you know, I kind of want to give you guys a break from, you know, reviewing like tier matches and Sprite matches, etc. Maybe go over something a little bit different. It's because in the Saturday recap, we do have plenty of those types of matchups to go over. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. We'll speed this one up a little bit, get up to speed. I do go first here. I do end up normal summoning a Spring Girl, and we are going to go ahead and link this into Sea Angel. The chain links will be Chain Link 1, Sea Angel, Chain Link 2, Spring Girl. Obviously doing that so we can chain block our Sea Angel from Ash. And if they have Valor or Imperm, they have Valor or Imperm. We end up hitting another Spring Girl off of that. We're going to add our Dive, and we're going to try to keep playing there. As you can see, my hand right now looks to be Bell, Talents, Imperm, Dive, and one other card. I'm assuming at this hand I only opened Spring Girl, and the reason why I didn't just, you know, link into Blue Slug to add back is because if that Spring Girl doesn't hit a Marincess monster, adding the Spring Girl back to her hand essentially accomplishes nothing. So I find a lot of times if I see just Spring Girl in the opening hand, I always link it into the Sea Angel first in hopes to get, you know, a extender like Dive, bring back the Spring Girl, then go into Anemone, bring back the Spring Girl again, and then make Blue Slug, add it back, and then summon it again, right? You can get a lot of value out of Spring Girl here if you just open it right and you go right into a Sea Angel. If you don't have the option to go for Sea Angel for some reason, you kind of have to take a bit of a chance. In this case, if we did go for Blue Slug, we would have gotten lucky because we milled a name, but again, you can't always count on that. So I will follow up with a Dive to bring back the Spring Girl, go into Anemone here, just as I mentioned. We're going to link into the Slug. Slug is going to add that back, and now here we can go into our Coral Triangle, and since we hit a name, we can easily add back the other name that we hit off of the Spring Girl there, which is really nice. Technically, one thing you could do is you could, if you really wanted to, like, you could wait until you have the Blue Slug on field and the Anemone, and then you could use Spring Girl's Graveyard Effect to mill 2 to kind of increase your chances of getting a Marincess monster in grave. That's important here because when the Anemone adds back, we get to add back a monster that we can actually discard for our triangle. Otherwise, we would not be able to you know, do both Searching Wave and making Argonaut or Bubble Reef. So we're going to go ahead and discard the other name. In this case, again, it's that other Spring Girl. We're going to add our Wave. And then we haven't used Spring Girl's effect to special summon herself yet, so we will do that next. And we're going to summon it and banish the other Spring Girl, link into Bubble Reef, and we're going to go ahead and pass there. I think I had double Tactics in hand, it looks like. Double Tactics, yeah. So very weak opening. During my opponent's standby phase, I'm obviously going to go ahead and banish to draw. Now, I know I'm playing against Cyber Dragon as well, so the Contact Fusion is going to be kind of rough. There's really no way to get around that. The only thing I could have done possibly to prepare for this with this specific opening is A, making sure I have Coral Triangle set up, B, making sure I'm going for something like Bubble Reef so I can at least get some advantage out of it, even though I'm definitely going to be losing it over the course of his turn, and, you know, make sure I have, like, things like hand traps and stuff. So, like, we have all those boxes checked right now, and we just kind of got to hope we don't get OTK'd. Or, you know, not even Contact Fusion. My opponent does have, like, a Kaiju here, so, like, that's also a possibility. But, you know, I did get my draw off of the Bubble Reef. I've got Coral Triangle set up. I've got hand traps. I can be about as set up as I possibly can be, you know, to deal with one of the most, like, impactful things against this deck, which is things like Contact Fusion and tributes like Kaijus. So my opponent will give me the Jizukiru. He's going to activate Disc Coliseum to go ahead and grab a copy of Therion King Regulus, and then follow that up with Cyber Emergency to go ahead and grab a copy of the Ghost Rare Cyber Dragon. He's going to special summon the Cyber Dragon, and then Contact Fusion away with the Jizukiru. And that's fine by me, because now I'm like, okay, if he doesn't OTK me, I have the triangle completely live now. A lot of people tend to mess that up. They think clearing your board is really okay. And even if they can't go for game, they'll still try to clear your board. But if they're leaving you with that Coral Triangle follow-up and not too much of a way to stop it, then they're really kind of out of luck because they just gave you Soul Charge on the following turn. But I think the only thing I have is Imperm, and I'm going to save it for what I think is the most impactful thing to Imperm, and it's going to be Core, because I don't want him to be able to search Overflow or Repair Plant or anything like that. So he is luckily just going to go into the battle phase, attack with the Regulus, the Chimera Tech, and the Core, put me down to 2,800, make Almirage, and pass turn, where I draw a Pascalis for turn. So I believe, yeah, and I also drew Cyanide Mining off of the Bubble Reef, so our draws have not been optimal here, but the hand right now is Wave, Cyanide, Double Talents, Bell, and the, the Pascalis. So really feeling okay right now. Even if my opponent had something like Call By to hit Coral Triangle preemptively, we have that Clutch Bell. Same thing with DD Crow, we have the very clutch Bell in our hand to stop those types of effects, to make sure something like Coral Triangle can go through. So I have Tactics, right? I know my opponent has a Regulus. I need to bait this card out because Tactics is going to go in so incredibly hard here. So I kind of make the, maybe this wasn't the best thing from a mind game standpoint. I go ahead and activate Mining, discarding Tactics. I don't know if that's going to be like to a better player or just players in general, if that's like a sign of like, okay, he's definitely bluffing. Maybe he's got another Tactics in hand. So maybe at that point they feel less inclined to negate, but at the same time, they're just letting that go through, which is more than enough for me at the end of the day. So my opponent does let it resolve here. So we are going to go ahead and grab a copy of Blue Tang, and then we're going to activate Coral Triangle here on the resolution of that. And we're going to go ahead and attempt to bring out 2. Now, this is a really strong effect. I'm like, all right, if my opponent doesn't do anything here, I'm just getting really far ahead into the game. And now that one Regulus negate is starting to matter less and less. One other problem kind of that's existing on his field right now is the Disc Coliseum. The amount of protection this is giving his field right now is pretty strong. The fact that he can protect something by battle, and then if something destroyed by battle, he can add back a Therion, so that gives him Regulus for follow-up. Kind of a little bit of a pain here to deal with. The same thing with the Almirage too. His board isn't going to be that easy to walk through in the battle phase. So we're going to follow this now up by activating Anemone to bring back the Spring Girl. Then we're going to go right into the Marbled Rock, trying to get into a Ling 3 as fast as I possibly can to make that wave live. So now I can pretty much trade with the Regulus here if I so desire, because I can just preemptively activate the wave and make him use it or lose it. And if he decides to use it for whatever reason, then Tactics becomes live. We link into, obviously with the Marbled Rock here, we are going to get the effect of a Spring Girl, and we mill a Dive and a Battle Ocean, which is kind of insane. My opponent's going to take 400 damage there, and now I have Battle Ocean in the graveyard to be able to freely add back with the Marbled Rock if I so choose to do so. Then I'm going to commit my normal summon here of the Pascalis into the Blue Slug, or not Blue Slug, into Blue Tang. Then we're going to dump Sleepy Maiden, getting kind of like all the decent names out of our graveyard right now, or out of our deck, into the grave rather. Sleepy Maiden being one of those cards. And at this point, my opponent has let me get this far into the game. So I'm like feeling very, very confident that I can, technically go for a really big push here. My opponent is going to activate that Almirage in response to the Kragan. And he is going to protect the Regulus as expected, but Kragan doesn't target, so he has to do it in response. And we're going to clear the Chimera attack, and my opponent will take 1,000 damage, because he will take half damage equal to the attack that it had on the field. And then we're going to go ahead and activate Triple T here. Since my opponent did use the Almirage, we're going to rip a card out of his hand. And yeah, like Triple T, again, just going in phenomenally there. And then we're going to activate Marbled Rock here to attempt to add back. We get the Battle Ocean. We activate the Battle Ocean. And pretty much everything is known at this point too, which is really nice. We're going to activate Dive, bring out another Pascalis from the deck. And that's just going to be like basically follow-up. And then we're going to go ahead and go into a Link 4, which is going to be Argonaut. And we're going to equip 3 to it. Bubble Reef, Anemone, and Marbled Rock. The equips really don't matter most of the time. I mean, I guess with Argonaut, it matters a little bit more. Mainly because, like, now I have the opportunity, like, if I want to bring up a Marbled Rock to be able to stop attacks and get cards back. Or if I want to be able to bring up something like the Bubble Reef to be able to recycle banished cards next turn, right? You have to kind of think about that. And we have the luxury right now to bring back a lot of really good stuff. So here I decided to use the Argonaut to go ahead and bounce back the Sea Angel and the Field Spell, just so we can't protect the Regulus. Then we will go into the battle phase and run over the Regulus with the Argonaut, swinging for 19, leaving my opponent at 3,200. We have Bell, we have Wave, we have Argonaut, and he's basically top decking at this point. My opponent also has like Cyber Dragon Core engraved, so I guess he could have used Core, but I guess he can just wait to, until I use the negate on the Disc Coliseum. He will use the core, though. And that is going to go ahead and special summon out a Cyber Dragon. And we're also going to bring up Bubble Reef, importantly, here. I was going to bring up the Anemone, but bringing up Bubble Reef just makes way more sense here, because if he's able to get a Cyber Dragon out and Contact Fusion into, say, like Mega Fleet, I want to still have a way to use Wave, and bringing up Bubble Reef is going to be the way to do that. So I had to make sure that we have, you know, all those things in order. So he's going to go ahead and bring out Naxter, which I thought it was funny that he tried to bring out Naxter here. I thought maybe going for like the Cyber Dragon play would maybe be a little bit better, since he can Contact Fusion. But he will attempt to revive something with it. And I do hit it with a Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, because it does include an effect that would revive. And my opponent did draw a Regulus for turn, which is really, really strong for him. And there's that Contact Fusion. So I guess he can do it either way. So I think going for Noxer then, looking back, was probably the best thing to grab there, since it can also force out an Eruption with its Graveyard effect and also just be a removal card. With the Contact Fusion mechanic, we will get a card back off the Anemone hitting the graveyard. He's going to normal summon the Hers. And then he's going to attempt Regulus effect, targeting Regulus in grave. And there's really nothing I can do to that right now. The only thing I could technically do is, you know, use a combination of Kragan and Wave to out the Regulus and burn him for half of 3,400 damage. So right now it looks like I do use the Stealth Kragan, and this is in main phase still before he goes to battle phase. And it all kind of banked on, like, what was he going to send off with the Regulus. I go Kragan effect, obviously it doesn't target. And if he goes, you know, Regulus send itself off, I have no way to, you know, negate the Regulus with the Wave since it's off the board. But I knew in my head that, like, he's definitely going to want to keep Regulus on board on my turn, so he'll just send off the Equip, allowing me to then imperm it with the Wave. And that's exactly what ends up happening here. And it's just going to come in very, very clutch. So my opponent will take the burn damage. The effect will get negated. All my monsters are now unaffected by his effects. And the only thing he can basically do is try to get over the Bubble Reef with the help of Seeger. And then he's just going to go ahead and pass turn there as he gets to add back a card off the Disc Coliseum. Then we're just going to pop the Seeger and attack for game. And that is going to wrap up game one. All right, so in game two here, my opponent is going to opt to go first, which I was, you know, expecting. Sometimes it's, like, difficult to tell with the Cyber Dragon deck. Sometimes the deck wants to go second. So in game two, you know, like, you're siding to go second because you think they're going to go first. But again, they're Cyber Dragons, so they'll just want to go first. Or they want to go second, so your going second cards are not going to be that good. My opponent does activate Galaxy Soldier as Chainlink 1, and hers is Chainlink 2. Now, hers does include an effect to add back a card from the graveyard, and I do Chain Bell in response to that. So I don't know if necessarily that was the best Bell. Maybe I could have held it for something like Overflow, or I could have held it for something like, I guess, Cyber Dragon Nova or Noxer, since I guess those are also Bellable. But I'm not really super familiar with this matchup. So I wanted to, like, kind of play it safe and hit hers, which is going to prevent him from getting an additional search and allowing him to set up Infinity, because he'll get the Galaxy Soldier effect and the free Cyber Dragon from the hers, allowing him to spec another Galaxy Soldier and then get into Nova. And I guess at that point, even if I belled the Nova to revive one, he's still getting access to Infinity anyways, so I might as well just put him on, have something else that you want to discard for your Galaxy Soldier, and luckily he didn't. So right now, all we have to play through, I believe, is an Imperm, a Regulus, and a DD Crow. We'll see if we can go ahead and do that here with the cards that we've been given. And it looks like my hand right now is Cosmic, Imperm, Signet Mining, and something else. I can't exactly tell what it is, but I do lead with a Cosmic Cyclone to hit my opponent's back row. It is an Imperm, so, you know, just basically a bullet dodge there. So the rest of my hand ends up being Signet Mining, Imperm, Dive, and Seahorse. So overall, pretty okay hand, you would say, right? The only thing is, like, playing into DD Crow is going to be a little rough with just Seahorse. So I do then follow up imperming the Regulus, because we have to turn that off, right? And then I would hope that I would use the Signet Mining here, because I could Signet away the Dive for something like a Blue Tang, and I think just that on its own should beat DD Crow. But we'll see what I do here. I just normal summon Seahorse, attempt effect to add back, and my opponent does have the DD Crow. And I'm basically just forced to sign at mining now, I guess. And it would have been so much stronger, too. This is just really interesting watching back. It would have been so much more of a power play to beat a potential hand trap like Crow, or any hand trap for that matter, especially with the board the way it is, knowing Gamma is like out of the equation. I think going for something like Blue Tang probably would have been like the right normal summon, assuming things like DD Crow are probably going to be in the side or in the main, at least this particular format, for things like Tier and Sprite. So now I'm like putting myself in a little bit of an awkward position where now I'm going to have to use Sign Up Mining to go ahead and grab exactly Seahorse. And that's pretty much all I'm going to have to work with. And going for just Seahorse is not bad here, but it's not the best. But I decided to just go Battle Phase and pass turn. There's no way I did that. There's no way. There's no way I thought just going for that would be the move. There's got to be a better play there. Especially if I'm going Sign Up Mining to put Dive back into the graveyard to eventually get back with Anemone or Marbled Rock, which is something you also have to take into account. Spring Girl is obviously off the table there. The only extender that we could have grabbed was the Seahorse. I could have just, Sign Up Mining, discard the Wave or the Dive, search Seahorse, spec it, link into Sea Angel. Sea Angel is going to go ahead and grab Battle Ocean. Then we're going to link into Anemone. Anemone will revive the Seahorse. And then we'll link into, I want to say, Marbled Rock. Marbled Rock can get back the Seahorse and the Dive. And then we can dive from deck for Pascalis or for a Blue Tang. Yeah, there's definitely a way better board to make there, honestly. I think I was just playing it too conservatively, and I think it honestly is kind of costing me here. That's seemed like a very, very standard play. I don't know why I didn't decide to make it, but I just decided to pass turn there. This is really perplexing to watch back to see that I actually made that decision. I guess I don't know why I was afraid of committing there with the other play. I just don't know why. But my opponent is just going to normal summon Cyber Dragon by tributing over Regulus to get into Nova. And now at this point, the Sign Up Mining in my hand is becoming a little less valuable because now he's going to have an Omni Negate established. And that is going to be kind of rough to have to try to resolve Sign Up Mining through on the following turn. Luckily, my opponent is very, very low on cards. So he's going to go ahead and take the Blue Slug to equip to it. And then he's going to go into the battle phase and swing in for 28 total damage. And then he's going to go ahead and link into the Almirage. And then slap a Zeus on top of that. And I draw an Imperm for turn, which Imperm is really clutch here. So hopefully we can try to close this one out here. I mean, this is not a bad position to be in. We're going to have to go Sign Up Mining, discarding Wave. And we do grab Blue Tang here. We're going to normal Blue Tang effect. And we're going to dump Seahorse. Like, this is how easy it is to get back into the game sometimes with this deck. Just one normal summon resolving, one Sign Up Mining. We're going to, do our chain links here. 1 Slug, target Seahorse, 2 Tang. And we do not hit anything off of the Tang, but it's fine because we can still get our Seahorse. We're going to summon out the Seahorse and link into Sea Angel. My opponent is going to chain the Almirage there to protect the Zeus, I guess. But I have to get the Zeus off the board right now, which means I have to run it over in the battle phase. And it means I need access to Battle Ocean. So I think, and I am gonna, I don't think grabbing Dive here's the case, or the move right now. I don't think grabbing Dive is necessarily the move. We're just gonna go for Anemone. Anemone's gonna bring back the Blue Tang, and then we're gonna link into what, Triangle right now. We're gonna add back and discard to go ahead and search. Man, I'm messing up big time. There's no way I'm playing it out like this. We're going to go ahead and dive back Seahorse, link 4. And at this point, you can kind of see me realizing like, oh shit, I don't have a way to get the Zeus off field. This is going to be kind of problematic. So I just use the Argonaut effect on itself and bouncing the Zeus. And now I put my opponent on top deck, and he top decks Dis Coliseum, which is one hell of a top deck. And that's going to get him back into the game as well. Now, I do have Triangle set up in the graveyard. But, man, there was just a way better way to play that out, I feel like. I feel like the play would have been to go for Splash Mage, searching the Battle Ocean instead of the dives, and do a Splash Mage play into Bubble Reef. That way we get our 4,600 Bubble Reef. And then we also get our draw in the standby phase. And there's nothing that Regulus is going to be able to do to that as just a top deck. Like, sure, he gets Regulus to hand and summons another Regulus with a Regulus equipped. It's 3,400, sure. But it's not doing anything to the massive Bubble Reef that we have. My opponent's going to swing in with 35, because it's not 34, it's 35. And I draw for turn here. I'm forced to use the Coral Triangle in the main phase to go and attempt to bring back 2 links. And I'm kind of curious to see what I drew there for turn. I did draw a Triple Tactics Talent to try to draw into 2 more cards. Draw into Veiler and Ash, not the thing you want to see there. So I set the Veiler. My opponent normal summons core. I do Ash the core. Have to hit that 100%. Now my opponent got me at 700 life points. So he's going to attack into the Veiler. That'll trigger Disc Coliseum to add back. He's going to get a Regulus in play. He's going to attack with the core. And Regulus is going to go ahead and equip a Hers. And yeah, at this point, it's just looking rougher and rougher to try to come back. All because I didn't decide to go for two big misplays we'll be able to pull out of this game 2 here. Just being way, like, more conservative than I think I should have been, at least in this particular matchup. My opponent's going to go for Seeger. I draw a Pancratops for turn, which I guess is okay. Because I guess I could have special summoned it. Battle phase, attack into the Seeger, but then Seeger has a battle phase effect, I believe. So I don't think, honestly, I could have done anything there. See, unfortunately, I'm taking a loss there in game 2, which I feel like is a very winnable game. Yeah, that's really unfortunate there. That's really, really unfortunate. That was definitely a winnable game. But making 2 major misplays there, not... I definitely tunnel visioned on the wave because I was like, oh, if I go for the Bubble Reef, because there was so many things in my mind. It was like making sure I could clear the Zeus, making sure I had a way to have interruption, making sure I had a way to follow up, right? And with all those things in my head, I just managed to fumble the bag. Like, I don't know. Because going the Splash Mage route there would have been so much more impactful because we would have gotten 3 things. We would have gotten access to Battle Ocean. We would have gotten access to Bubble Reef. And the Anemone add back would have gave us back a dive with the Battle Ocean in play, which gets us another name out of deck. And that is our follow-up, which is super, super important. So, yeah, huge bag fumble there. Bag fumble alert in game 2. Let's take a look at game 3. All right, so hopping into game 3 here, obviously I will be deciding to go first, and we do start with a classic Seahorse play. Seahorse, most loyal card in the deck. And of course, it's a Starlight, right? So again, this is one of those interesting situations where normally seeing just Seahorse on its own is great, right? It's full combo, gets you to your link 4, but my opponent has that DD Crow again. And as you can see, my opening hand was Seahorse, double Imperm, Anti-Spell, Cosmic Cyclone. Really upsetting to see that very specific hand here going into just DD Crow. Seahorse is a great normal summon, but again, very, very vulnerable to something like DD Crow in this case. So I'm basically forced just to set 4 and pass and hope the Anti-Spell is going to be enough. So we stand by phase, Anti-Spell. My opponent does have Pot of Prosperity, Repair Plant, and Emergency, and a Nibiru as well. So we're kind of on a time clock right now, trying to figure out how to get out of this situation and be able to apply some pressure. And if my draw right now wasn't that good, you know, we're in a bad spot, right? We're in a bad spot. It had to be basically a name at this point and not something like Sign Up Mining, because Sign Up Mining is just going to continue to be dead. Now, I do use Cosmic Cyclone here. Mainly because I'm trying to take advantage of the advantage. Like, you know, a lot of the spells my opponent are setting right now are spells that he necessarily doesn't want to set, right? They're cards that he had to set so he could use them to make a push next turn. And I'm hoping I can just hit a good card. And maybe hit something like Lightning Storm, because if he flips up Lightning Storm next turn, it's basically just a GG. So I wanted to take the gamble on the Cosmic Cyclone, and we'll see if it paid off. I did hit a Cyber Emergency, though, so that technically is turning off a Surge. I do have to set another card and pass turn. My opponent gets a Cyber Dragon to hand, which is really good for him. He's able to Contact Fusion into Chimera Tech. Swing in for 24. Now I'm down by 34. He's going to flip up a Repair Plant. And now that he's got the Cyber Dragon engraved, Normal summon the core, I do hit that with an Imperm, which I didn't want him to get him access to the overflow, so I wanted to hit that with an Imperm. Then he's going to go ahead and make Almirage and pass. And at this point, I do finally draw into a name. It is a copy of Spring Girl. My opponent does have that Nibiru lurking in the background, which is really unfortunate. So I do decide to link into the Blue Slug. And I do have, okay, I was going to say, I don't know why I went into Blue Slug if I didn't have another name engraved, but we did have another name. It's another Blue Slug, so we can summon that out. Go into Sea Angel effect to go ahead and search a Battle Ocean. And right now we're already at our 4th summon, and I have to set my Battle Ocean too. One of the reasons why I really don't like anti-spell in this deck, because a lot of times in the crackback you want to be able to activate your spells that you're going to be searching out directly to continue playing. So we're going to go ahead and get to Coral Triangle. We're going to, get the effect of search. He's letting all of this go through. And I think all I can get... Oh, I do have the dive set as well. So dive can bring back the Spring Girl. And then we're going to link into the Bubble Reef. And then my opponent is going to have a Nibiru before I leave main phase. And now we're just really feeling like we're on the back foot right now. And, to be fair, there's really not much I don't think I could have done very differently here, outside of maybe just, not side anti-spell, I guess, is the other thing. And then my opponent's going to have Noxer. I do have to fire the Imperm there. Hope he can't, get over the Kaiju right now, but I know contact fusing is a thing. And then he's going to flip up the Pot of Prosperity. And at this point, I was like, oh my goodness, that's the last card that he has set. It was Prosperity. And he's going to go ahead and dig for 6 deep. Reveals a Regulus. And honestly, him just seeing the Regulus, I think, was enough to seal it. Really unfortunate for me here. Still, yeah, I was going to say, he still can't get over the, the Chimera Tech. But he's able to contact fusion. And I think this just swinging in all here is end up being just short of game. And then he's going to go ahead and pass turn. I draw an Ash for turn, of all things. I flip up the Battle Ocean. Coral Triangle is my only hope. And I'm like, if he doesn't negate this, we're kind of in there. But he did negate it. And, fair and square, that was the match right there. So my man Andy ended up taking that one 2-1. Game 3 was really unfortunate. My own anti-spell slowing me down. Anti-spell is not really a card that I'm super fond of right now in a deck like Marincess. I feel like White Howling almost might be a little better. Maybe even a Pointer of the Red Lotus, because you want to hit things out like Lava Golem, which is really relevant right now. Or even in matchups like this, hitting Kaiju-like cards. Maybe a Pointer would be better. Maybe Solemn Judgment would be better. Just some other type of Floodgate that would be overall better. Maybe, you could say Goes and Match, but Goes and Match against this particular deck, not really that great. I guess it's keeping him off of Regulus, because Regulus is an Earth. Maybe that's food for thought as well, but this is a weird matchup, so side patterns weren't necessarily all there, but still a good match nonetheless. Except for Game 2, I played like a fool in Game 2, and definitely should have been able to take Game 2 to the point where we would not even have needed a Game 3 situation, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. That's the most important thing. When you lose, it's an opportunity to learn, so don't forget that. And yeah, that's it for our little Tuesday recap. We did actually end up winning our last round. We played against Sprite, won that one 2-0. So we finished with a 3-1 record, 15 store credit in the bag, and we moved into Saturday feeling a little bit more prepared. Welcome everybody to the 4th and final Saturday of this series, and I gotta say I'm very, very excited. Overall, I've been very, very happy also with how this deck has performed, and I gotta say I really have next to no complaints. I think the only thing that could have been better is really my performance with the deck overall. But before we talk about the deck list that we're going to be playing today, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit to our Tuesday locals, which we ended up getting 4th place at. I'm sure I've already went over this. And we ended up only losing 1 round in round 3 to Cyber Therion. We ended up beating 2 Sprite decks and something else that I can't remember off the top of my head. But we finished with a 3-run record, getting another 15 store credit. And I gotta say that that Cyber Therion match, man, that was a really, really good match. And it just came down to, can I draw Marincess name? And we didn't do that. I think I probably could have played a little bit better there at some points. Definitely my round 2 matchup against Sprite. My game 2, I think I played that very incorrectly as well, not utilizing some of the cards in my extra deck like Iria. But you know, you live and you learn, right? That's why we do these things. That's why we go over these matches, so we can see our mistakes, you know, go over them in detail and learn for next time what we can do better. But if there's one thing that I feel like really performed very, very well at that particular tournament, was the fact that I was main decking Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Like, I would highly recommend anybody to play this card in their main deck right now if your deck gets hurt by DD Crow in any way, shape, or form. Not only that, but this card helps to counter the tier limit strategy. It helps to counter Math Mech, which by the way is a very, very popular deck, and if you're not preparing for it, you definitely should be. It hits their trap card, which is like one of the best things about their deck. And it also hits adventurer cards, and it's even good against Sprite, stopping things like Gigantic Sprite, stopping things like Ronin Totem, also stopping Totally Awesome's effect to negate. I think it only works if they're trying to negate a monster with it, because it does include an effect that would potentially take a monster and special summon it from the grave to their field. So like, this card has a lot of utility this format, and like I said, if your deck gets hurt by DD Crow in any way, shape, or form, this card can stop DD Crow, can also stop Called by the Grave too. And there were plenty of times during our Tuesday tournament where I had Ghost Spell in hand, and I was like, I'm just really strapped for anything they might have for me, like a DD Crow on my Blue Slug target, or a DD Crow on my Coral Anemone target, or like DD Crow on Coral Triangle in the standby phase or the draw phase. Like, Ghost Spell just made me feel so much more prepared, and that is a card I'm really glad I'm keeping in my main deck for today and going forward. Like, I really, really like this card a lot. I don't know if I would really bump it up to 3. I think 2 is fine. I think 3 might be a little too much with the hand trap lineup that we have, which by the way, I really do like our hand trap lineup. 3 Ash, 3 Crow, 3 Imperm, 2 Veiler, 2 Bell, and 2 Nibiru. I like that lineup quite a bit. The other thing I thought about possibly doing was like cutting 1 Talents for a Called by the Grave. As you guys know or may not have known, I haven't been playing Called by in this list for a little while now. And the only reason I'm not playing it is because the hand trap lineup we're playing is pretty extensive, and like, I don't want to Called by something and then have a hand trap that I have be potentially dead. That has come up for me in the past playing this deck, and I really, really don't like it. Even though Call by is like a fantastic card, I just don't know what else to cut. I could see myself maybe going to 41, but drawing a starter card is so absolutely incredibly important that I do not want to diminish my chances of seeing a single Marincess monster in my opening hand any more than I have to. Might seem like a minuscule thing, but honestly, I think it is kind of important. Like, the only time like I really want that card in my deck is going first, and again, that's why it is in the side deck. Also, one other thing too, I want to make an emphasis today on actually going over side deck patterns, because you can have a lot of like going second cards in your side deck for, let's say, combo decks or like a certain specific matchup. Let's say, for example, our deck really struggles against Sprite, right? Let's say our deck just, I mean, it kind of does, but like, you know, just in general, we have a matchup that our deck really struggles against, and we want, you know, in our side deck, we're going to put in a decent amount of, you know, 6 or 7 going second cards like that are kind of dedicated for the Sprite end board, and they're also maybe dedicated like for other like combo decks too, like adventure decks and dragons, etc., etc. Can't forget about those. Easy to forget about in a format like this where there's like seemingly 2 decks at the top, but there's a lot of other contenders out there too. But like I said, if you have, let's say, 7 whole going second cards for Sprite, and you go to side and you realize there really isn't 7 things that you can afford to take out for that matchup. Now you have a problem where you have these side deck cards, but you don't have room to side all of them. So at that point, you have like 2 cards, maybe you can only fit 5. You now have 2 cards in your side deck that are just kind of like, why did I even put these in here? These could be for other harder matchups. These could be for backrow decks. It could be for going first, right? So that is what I really want to spend time going over today, is what are our siding patterns, and going back and looking at breakdowns and trying to remember what we've actually ended up losing to, what are our harder matchups, right? And get our siding patterns actually figured out. All right, so a couple hours has passed, about 2 hours to be precise, since I last talked to you guys. And I took that time to actually go ahead and switch up the side deck quite a bit. And right now we are on the DB begin siding page when we go into the solo mode. And the reason I'm here is because this will give us a really good visual representation of what's coming out and what's going in. So let's say we're playing against like Sprite, right? Sprite going first. We need to know exactly what cards we are going to put in going first against Sprite. Let's say we lost game 1. Whatever it may be, right? So typically for me, I'm going to be putting in the 3 copies of the Gozen match against that deck. I'm going to be taking out 2 copies of Nibiru, only because I don't want there to be any conflictions with Gozen match and Nibiru. Yes, Nibiru is very, very strong against the Sprite tactic. Only when the Nibiru is paired with another hand trap like Imperm or Veiler, it's really strong. But we don't want any conflictions. I'm also going to take out a copy of DD Crow. You could say, you could take out a copy of Bell, but they're definitely going to have Crow in for me, and I want Bell in my main deck to be able to counter the Crow that they're going to be putting in, right? Same thing with Call by the Grave. This is another card I'm definitely going to be putting in, and I'm probably also going to take out a second copy of Crow. This is where it could change up a little bit, right? You could take out a Crow. You could take out a Veiler. That's probably the only thing I would recommend taking out, though. For this example, let's say we're going to take out 1 Veiler. That way we can have 3 Imperm and Veiler. I think Imperms are really strong against the Sprite deck because a lot of people are putting up red as an interruption to protect their stuff, like against monster negation and stuff like that. Very rarely do they put up Carrot, which makes Imperm a lot stronger. So those are 4 cards that we can easily put in going first against Sprite. The 3 Gozen match and the Call by the Grave. Call by obviously giving us hand trap protection. Also able to hit Toad out of the grave whenever they establish that. And going first, we have the Gozen match to, if they start with Deep Sea Diva, we waterlock them, and they really can't do much past that. If they start with Nimble Beaver, right, or if they put like a Carrot on field, or a red on field that's locking them into fire, same thing with Elf. They have a lot of different attributes. Dark being like the most prominent one, with Blue and Jet being dark. But at that point, they can get into Gigantic, but they can only summon Darks off Gigantic. They can't summon Swap Frog. They can't summon anything else. And they can't go into Elf either. So Gozen match is looking like a very strong side deck card going first. So those are the cards I'm going to be taking out and putting in, right? These Gozens and the Call By, and the 2 Nibs, a Veiler, and a Crow are coming out for the Sprite matchup. And I'm not going to go over every matchup. I just want to go over like the most prominent ones, right? And I don't want to spend a super ton of time here. But now going second against the Sprite deck, what are we going to put in? Well, first things first, we're definitely putting in the entire Gamma package, because the Gamma package goes absolutely crazy against the deck. And I'm going to go ahead and take out the 3 engine cards I typically take out, which is going to be a Sleepy Maiden, the 3rd Pascalus, and a Signet Mining. Those cards are always going to come out. I'm also going to take out a copy of Triple Tactics Talent. Now, Talents is a card that I really am kind of like wishy-washy against going like into the Sprite deck, because this is a deck that I could see easily playing Anti-Spell, and I know personally some people that play Sprite are siding Anti-Spell, and Triple T is completely dead against that deck. You could also argue you could side out 1 or all like 2 or 3 copies of the Triple T and put in 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, or you could put in 1 copy of like Twin Twister and Call by the Grave to be able to hit Toad, right? That's something else you could do. Or you could just do like double twin and then like side out a Crow, or you could also side out a Veiler for Called By. That way you still have plenty of going second cards here. You have the 3 Gamma, the 3 Imperm, the 2 Nib, the 2 Bell, the 3 Crow, the 3 Ash, the 1 Veiler. And you also have Cosmics and Call By. The reason why I stress Cosmic again is because the possibility of anti-spell, and you also want to be able to hit things like Sprite Smashers set in the back line as well, because Sprite Smashers is really good, especially if they hit your normal summon and you don't have a follow-up past that. Can be really strong, just like Meta Noise against Tearlament. So those are like basic things. Also, how am I forgetting this? But we also need to fit a copy of Dino Wrestler Pankratops in there as well. Pank is kind of insane. You could also just put like one Cosmic in, or if you wanted to fit all of this in, you could cut a copy of Crow and leave it as is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards going in, 8 cards going out. I think those are perfectly fine for 8 cards to swap in and out. So yeah, that's like the Sprite matchup in a nutshell. Now we'll take a look at the tier matchup. So for tier going first, this is pretty easy, right? Just Dweller for the Stealth Kraken, and we definitely don't want Nibiru in our main deck either against the tier matchup. I mean, it really depends on what variant you're playing against. Like if you're playing against the Punk variant, Nibiru might be pretty viable, but if you're playing against like branded tier or like pure tier, you're definitely going to want something like Foolish Return and Call by the Graven. Now the reason this one Foolish Return is in here is because I was like originally just going to do Dweller and Called By going first against tier, but I wanted both the Nibirus out of my deck, and nothing else in my side deck really made sense to replace that second Nibiru with, and I had one slot left in the side deck, and Foolish Return just made the most sense because it's basically another copy of Called by the Grave or DD Crow going first or second against the Sprite matchup. It's a quick play, target a monster in the graveyard. I think it's actually any card in the opponent's graveyard, return it to the deck. So that just completely outright stops the fusion summon from happening, which is really, really strong, and it gets both copies of Nibiru out of our deck. Now another thing you could also potentially put in is Gozen Match going first against this deck, and then for that point I would easily swap out the Imperms. The reason I would recommend thinking about and considering Gozen Match going first primarily is because of Lava Golem. Lava Golem is very, very popular in the tier decks nowadays because they don't typically always need their normal summon. And if you flip up Gozen Match in the standby phase, sure, they might be able to play around it with their engine being, you know, mostly dark based. But if they're on a Punk variant, it's going to make things a lot difficult. And they basically have to choose what attribute they want for the rest of the turn. If they start with Punk stuff, or they start with the like the Rhino Heart being a water, right? It makes it a little awkward. Not the, you know, the best floodgate against them, you know, like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror would be, but it's going to stop them from putting a fighter monster on our all water field. That is like the most important thing, bar none. And if you're also worried about things like Mystic Mine, you could also put in a copy of Cosmic and drop like a Pascalis, right, or a DD Crow, or a Triple T. Since the decks, like, you know, tier decks don't typically play a lot of hand traps, you could side out one Triple T for a Cosmic Cyclone to have a main decked out to Mystic Mine as well. So those are the cards I'm probably putting in first, going against the tier deck, and I'm taking out as well. The Stealth Kraken, again, getting sub, don't forget, for the Abyss Dweller, because I definitely want to keep Bahamut Shark in, and I don't want to keep Kraken in, because Kraken is just going to be a nice way to trigger their effects. So now let's take a look at what I'm going to put in going second. All right, so pretty simple side decking pattern here for tier going second. We just have a copy of Dweller, 3 Cosmic Cyclones, a Foolish Return, and a Call by the Grave going in. That's 5 cards going in and 5 cards going out. Obviously, the Stealth Kraken is getting replaced by the Abyss Dweller. No brainer. I still want this card going second, right? Because even going into a field, establishing a Dweller over a Kraken seems 1,000 times better. We're also still taking out those copies of Nibiru for Called By and Foolish Return. And then we're taking out our classic going second engine cards, which is the 3rd Signet, the 3rd Pascalis, and the Sleepy Maiden for 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, because we want to be able to beat things like Meta Noise, any other floodgates they might be siding in, and things like Salic and Crime, right? We want to be able to get rid of those interruptions or even possibly hit field spell, right? And that's pretty much everything else. That's like all I'm doing, because we have the 3 Bell, or the 2 Bell and the 3 Crow in there as well, which is going to be super strong against the deck. Anti-spell in the tier deck, really not something I would expect to see, just because they need their own spells and stuff like Polymerization, you know, other things like their field spell. So I don't think anti-spell is like super popular. I don't think I've seen a lot of lists at all playing anti-spell on the side, so I'm fine with leaving the Triple T's in, because Triple T, going against decks like tier that love to play a ton on your turn, it makes Triple T absolutely fantastic. And with Eerie the Water Charmer in our extra deck, we can take things and link it off, right? And then it's a big deal at that point. So those are just some simple siding patterns for Sprite going first and second, and for tier going first and second. Obviously, I could spend a lot more time going over every other deck I would expect to play, but we don't have enough time for that. And also depends on what your guys' side deck looks like. I really like this side deck right now. I like it a lot better than the other side deck that we had. Everything is calculated. That is the most important thing. It's calculated. It's not necessarily about like what type of cards we're playing. It's about the fact that we know exactly what cards we need to put in, right? And what cards we're taking out. Takes out a lot of confusion. It makes us, like I said, a lot more confident. So that's all I wanted to update you guys on. I'll be leaving here for locals in about 2 hours, and I mean we got a gun for that 4-0 because I don't think we've gotten a 4-0 a single time this series, and that needs to change. Needs to change 100%. And we're just gonna do it today. I've said it in the past before. We're gonna do it today. 4-0. We've gone 3-1. I literally think every single time so far. 3-1. We gotta get the 4-0. Today's the day we're gonna do it. Mark my words. All right, everybody, we are at locals right now. It is currently 6:06, so we've got plenty of time to set up. I wanted to update you guys on that. I did make one more change to the main deck, actually, before I left. And that one change was putting Mandarin back in as a one-of, and I've cut the third Pascalis. The only reason being, truthfully, is I was doing a couple test hands, and I did a hand where I drew 2 Pascalis, and that was my only engine. And I do not want that to happen. That is a very bad thing to happen. We've been playing 2 Pascalis for a couple weeks. We're putting Mandarin in today. I got a good feeling about Mandarin. Is this something I should have done? I don't know. We will find out. That's the plan. Wish us luck. Alright, so we just wrapped up round 3, and we are currently undefeated. As I'm recording this right now, I'm still not sure which match I really want to go over. We played against 2 Sword Souls so far and a Dino, and we're at least guaranteed 15 credit on the night, which is really cool. Unless we split, we can get 20, which is also kind of nice. But yeah, I don't know. All of the matches tonight have been really, really good, and the deck has been performing extremely, extremely well. Yeah, like, extremely well. Like almost too well. Also, Mandarin, I gotta say, has come in very, very clutch so far, and I'm very happy I decided to play it instead of the third Pascalis. I was gonna mention this earlier as more of a reason as to why I opted to play the Mandarin. And the main reason is it's just another name that lets you save your better extenders for when you get hand trapped. That's why I really like it. And also late game too, it makes your dive basically a 1-card 2 bodies because you can just summon out the Mandarin, link it into a Sea Angel, and then summon it back out from grave after you search like a Battle Ocean or another dive, whatever it may be. Really, really strong card. Really, really like it. It's been a great sign up mining discard. I like all the matches really, really good. I think we'll probably go over like one of the Sword Soul matches. Both were, I think, went to game 3s. Very, very close matches so far. Really, really enjoyed them. And that's really all I can say, honestly. My friend Colin, round 2, got very, very unfortunate game 3, where he opened up Triple Long and Lightning Storm Ash. That was kind of scary after he Lightning Stormed me, because all I had was Ash Veiler, which sometimes is enough against Sword Soul. Sometimes it's just outright not. If he had drawn a normal summon, we would have been in a really bad spot, but lucky he drew Veiler. But yeah, I'll update you guys after the tournament. Hopefully we can go 4-0, which I think we can do it. I think we're in a really good spot. The only thing I'm really expecting to play against next is like Sprite or a tier limit deck, which I think we're more than prepared for in those particular matchups. So yeah, I'll update you guys a little bit later. So as I mentioned earlier, I said I was going to go over one of our Sword Soul matchups. Like I said, we ended up playing against 2 of them, and here we are doing exactly that. This is my round 2 matchup against my friend Colin, who's a bit of a Sword Soul master, if you ask me. And this match I was actually able to record the entire length of. The round 1 match, my camera ended up dying and running out of battery, maybe with 5 minutes left or so in that particular match. So there's a bit of a decent chunk missing at the end, and I didn't want to go over that and not be able to explain how the full match played out. So we're just going to go over round 2 here. I think this is a pretty good match. It goes to a game 3. A lot of things to go over and explain, especially one thing that happened. I believe it was either game 2 or 3. something that's kind of important, and I want to go ahead and point that out and address it. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into our round 2 matchup, and I do end up losing the die roll, and my opponent does open with the Ecclesia play. I do have Ash, Desires, Valor, Imperm, and one other card, which looks to be a Mandarin. So there's Mandarin coming in kind of clutch. Low-key, like, Mandarin on its own might seem a little bit better than that third Pascalus, right? But I believe the same boards can be accomplished with either just Pascalus or Mandarin. Obviously, I didn't play Mandarin because I think it's better on its own. I played it because it gives us one extra name to work with when we're trying to combo through interruptions. And we draw a blue Tang for a turn. So if I was still on 3 Pascalus, you know, maybe that Pascalus could have come in very, very clutch here, because we could have gone Pascalus into blue Tang for a much more like robust form of our combo. But it's still going to work out just fine here at the end of the day. We are going to lead with blue Tang. My opponent does have Imperm and Valor, which those types of cards typically aren't too effective against Marincess. You'd rather have things like DD Crow, Gamma, and Nibiru, much more high-impact hand traps. But Valor and Imperm, not really going to cut it too well for him here. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon the blue Tang. Got to explain to my opponent how the card works, right? You know, when it's normal or special, it sends a Marincess, and then when it's sent to the graveyard as link material, for a water monster, we can activate the top 3 cards of our deck and take any Marincess card that we find there. You can see my friend right now is kind of thinking, like, does he want to go ahead and interrupt this card, right? Does he want to Valor it? Does he want to Imperm it? Now, if I'm being totally honest, Imperm here, like, is not, like, the worst thing that can possibly happen. I think he might have been under the impression that if my only option is to link for Blue Slug, which is obviously not the case, and he thinks that if I go for Blue Slug and I don't get a card to send off the blue Tang, I have no extender to add back off the Blue Slug, and the blue Tang is coming back to my hand, and I have no play, right? Obviously, if I didn't have a Mandarin, or if I didn't have any other way to play, I'm just going to simply link into Sea Angel, and Sea Angel is going to get me Dive, and in turn, that is going to go ahead and allow me to continue playing. And also, you can't forget about the possibility of blue Tang could also just, when it's sent as link material, get me an additional extender to keep working with, making that hand trap seemingly do nothing. So we're going to go Chainlink 1, Sea Angel, Chainlink 2, blue Tang, and if I was my opponent right here, I would have definitely used a Valor Imperm on something like this. Right now, if he would have Valored the Sea Angel here, that would have been very, very high impact, because getting the Seahorse to my hand with the cards that I have doesn't even let me do anything, but getting access to Dive certainly does. I would have had to have shotgunned that Pot of Desires to try to keep going, but my opponent is just a little bit unfamiliar with this matchup. So we're going to go ahead and bring out the blue Tang with a Dive, go into the Coral Anemone, and then we're going to use Coral Anemone's effect to attempt to revive one. Wanted to make sure he knew what card I added off of the blue Tang. Getting Seahorse always feels really, really good. So we're going to use the effect of Coral to go ahead and bring back Sea Angel. And I want to bring back Sea Angel specifically so I can use Mandarin in hand and then, you know, get it on board while I have those 2 links and an arrow to summon to. Then we're going to go into Coral Triangle. Coral Triangle effect is going to go ahead and discard the blue Tang that we added back to go ahead and attempt to search a Marincess trap, but he's going to go ahead and fire the Valor there. So at least he got that much right. If he would have Impermed the Sea Angel and Valored the Triangle, would have been a much better use of his hand traps, but at least he ended up getting, like I said, one thing right here in this particular instance. So then we're going to go ahead and link off the Mandarin now into a Blue Slug to go ahead and attempt to add back. We're going to add back the Coral, or not the Coral Triangle, the blue Tang as follow-up now, and then we're going to go into Bubble Reef, and from there we can't really do much else except for swing in for some damage. And we're going to go ahead and fire off a Pot of Desires in main phase 2. Banishing Tenet will resolve. And just doing a little damage report to see if we banish things like Wave or Battle Ocean. Those are always the 2 things you want to check for. And I did draw into Cyanide Mining and copy of Triple Tactics Talons. And oh boy, that Triple T is going to go in. We're going to take a look at the hand. And I believe that other card in his hand wasn't Ecclesia. I know it was fast, but he has Ecclesia Shathana. We're going to go ahead and put back the Ecclesia back into his deck and put him on draw a Sword Soul or draw Longyun. But we do have Valor Imperm of our own, so we're going to basically just pass turn. He does draw Longyun. Standby phase, we're going to go ahead and banish to draw, and we draw into another blue Tang. And the Longyun here is going to put in a decent amount of work. But the question is, will it be enough to ultimately stop our follow-up? And will it be enough to basically stop, you know, us from like going for game next turn? Or will he be able to put enough damage on board for game this turn? The answer obviously going to be no. He's going to go ahead and use the effect of Baron after burning for 12 to go ahead and attempt to pop the Bubble Reef. I chain Veiler just to see if he'll force the negate, right? And also our Bubble Reef is at 32 right now, so Baron can't actually get over it unless he pops the Bubble Reef. I negate with Veiler, he chains to negate with the Barone, and then I chain Imperm to negate that, knowing that he's on no cards right now, and he's just going to go ahead and scoop right then. And there's next draw was another Longyun. Super unfortunate, but we get to keep the Bubble Reef on board, and we obviously have that Coral Triangle follow-up. We have Signet Mining, we have Blue Tang in hand, we have plenty of follow-up for next turn, just to be able to go for the kill through the one body. So let's go ahead and fast forward and take a look at game 2. All right, so as expected, my opponent is going to go first here in game 2. Has the Emergence. I do go ahead and Ash the Emergence. I still think it's always correct to end up hitting Emergence with Ash, especially if they start with it. Does put them on have another way to play. He does go Moye. Moye reveals Ashina. I do chain Veiler. Again, pretty easy to go ahead and hand trap Sword Soul after playing against it for so long, and I've played it myself. And at that point, my opponent is going to set one and pass turn. Luckily, didn't have Heavenly Dragon Circle. Otherwise, that would have been a really, really solid card there to play through that second hand trap that I had. But I am going to start by normal summoning Spring Girl, Chainlink 1 Sea Angel, Chainlink 2 Spring Girl to help chain block from Ash. And I actually don't know if I was going to chain block. I will see if I did or not. I did. Okay. Because I think I could have technically not chain blocked to try to force an Ash so that the Signet Mining in my hand could go through. Like, I could make it really tempting for him to go ahead and try to Ash there, knowing that, again, if he does that, the Signet in the hand will resolve. But he is going to go ahead and Imperm the Sea Angel there, which is a little bit more correct. I end up milling just a Cosmic Cyclone off the top. And then there is the Ash. Like I said, that is the thing that I was most worried about. And if I had chain blocked, not chain block the Sea Angel, maybe not force him to use the Imperm, instead maybe use the Ash, the Signet Mining going through, I think is a bit more impactful than perhaps maybe like the Sea Angel going through. But, you know, speaking of Sea Angel not going through, didn't really matter anyways because we already had Dive in hand, and then Dive's going to revive the Spring Girl, and from here we just have to combo with just Spring Girl basically and a Dive, which might not seem like a lot, but it will have to basically do here. We are going to have to try to get into our standard play, our standard line, and I'm doing it a little bit of an unorthodox way. I'm going to go for that beautiful Starlight Rare Iria the Water Charmer, and the reason I do this is because I know my opponent has a Moye on field, and I can basically main phase 2 use the Iria to take his Moye, and then basically link climb here into a card like Marbled Rock, or I could go into Anemone. I don't really know why I decided to do it this way. Looking back, I think this is very, very suboptimal. I know that he has a Ashina in his hand. In fact, that is the only card in his hand that I would know at this point. So for some reason, why I wanted to take his Moye after like running it over, like losing my battle phase and clearing the Moye, only to get to a play that I could have gotten to otherwise, just to get one body off of his field. I'm not really sure why I did that. I think that was totally unnecessary. And now, like, I could have held that Moye on his field as leverage and put him on draw exactly another Sword Soul name or another normal summon. Because now that Ashina in his hand can actually give him access to a lot. It can just be on its own, give him access to something like Vashuda, which completely clears one of our Link 4s next turn if we don't have a way to wave. And with our particular hand, we're probably not going to have a way to it. So that's really, really unfortunate. So that was definitely a misplay there. Also, I had Gamma in hand, and I decided not to Gamma the Moye, only because I was worried about a potential follow-up via Longyun. And if I did use the Gamma on the Moye and he did have something like Longyun, I don't have follow-up or any way to like interact with the Longyun. So that's why I ended up doing that. But I think the play there should have been just a link into Splash Mage, go into Anemone, bring back Splash Mage, go into Bubble Reef, and literally just leave his Moye on field because it's literally not going to do anything next turn so long as he doesn't draw like another way to play, because I already know the card in hand, and clearing the Moye is just going to make that last card in hand even better. So I think that was a bit of a mistake, and I'm just kind of using unnecessary resources at this point. And we're going to go into Marbled Rock, and we're going to go ahead and attempt to get back some cards here, getting back our Dive, getting back our Spring Girl. And I think that's all I'm capable of doing, and my opponent does draw a Pot of Desires. So that is a pretty good draw. He has 2 live cards right now. Technically, if I would have left the Moe on field, he would have had just 1 live card. And he draws into Taya and 1 other card that I can't necessarily tell what it is. So I guess at this point, it really didn't matter what I ended up doing because of the Pot of... Oh, it was Longyan. So Longyan plus Taya, yeah. And that's actually just going to be game. So really, really unfortunate. Like, I don't think there's anything I could have done. I think, like I said, I still don't think I should have done the play that I did. Just leave him with the body on field. So if he doesn't draw, it absolutely insane for turn, right? You know, his ability to, like, do something can be a little bit, like, lessened. Because he has that Moe or that Ash in his hand that he can't summon because he has an effect monster on field. So, yeah, game 2, we actually just get kind of absolutely demolished there very, very fast. That Pot of Desires drew him into Moe or Taya and a copy of Longyan. That's just absolute game outright no matter what we do. Yeah, really, really rough, especially since we had no way to wave there. I think I could have, again, possibly played that a little bit better. I think not chain blocking the Sea Angel also would have been nice, just to kind of force that Ash out of his hand so Sign Up Mining can definitely go through. But let's go ahead and take a look at game 3. All right, so starting off game 3, I do opt to go first. My opening hand is Ash, Spring Girl, Sign Up Mining, Valor, and Mandarin. So Mandarin making an appearance again in this duel. We saw it in game 1. We're seeing it again in game 3. And we do have double hand trap, plus plenty of ways to play. My opponent opened super, super unfortunate here. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but he opened like triple Longyan Lightning Storm and something else. Really, really bad hand. It might have been Ash, yeah. So he has triple Longyan, Ash, Lightning Storm. So I start with Sign Up Mining, which at this point is clearly bait. And that's the one thing I love about this deck sometimes. Like, Sign Up Mining is just like the freest card, especially if you have triple Tactics Talent. Like, they're going to see that -2 potential, and a lot of times they're just going to take it. They can't resist it, and if they're pitching Ash right there, it means they're not ashing things like Sea Angel, they're not ashing things like Coral Triangle, and they're not ashing other effects you might be using like Triple T to draw 2. But that Ash is just so, so clutch, especially when you punish them with like literally any other normal summon in the deck, and you keep going. And we've already set up a graveyard extender in the form of Mandarin. So right now, I kind of just have to go for like the standard play, kind of similar to what I did last game. A little bit awkward, starting with just Spring Girl. So we go ahead and mill 1 off the top. It's an Imperm. No other cards that we could get there, right? So nothing useful there. We're going to go ahead and search the Dive. Dive's going to go ahead and bring back the Spring Girl. We're going to link 2 here into the Coral Triangle. We're going to bring back the Sea Angel, just so we can make use of our Mandarin Engrave, because now we have that arrow that we can summon it to while having the 2 Marincesses on field. And then we're going to go ahead and link 3 into a copy of Coral Triangle. Now, I do make a mistake here. I definitely get a little bit ahead of myself, so I'm going to go ahead and special summon now the Spring Girl to the field. And I have not made Blue Slug yet. So we're going to go ahead and secure the Blue Slug back to, or secure the Spring Girl back to the hand with the Blue Slug, and this is important, so we can use Coral Triangle's effect to go ahead and discard to special, or to search. Now, I did get a bit ahead of myself. I linked into Bubble Reef, and I forgot to search Wave, but my opponent was kind enough to let me take 1 step back and use the Coral Triangle effect, discarding the Spring Girl to go ahead and search the Wave, and then basically that brings us to where we are now. Your opponent might not be as nice as my opponent was, and if he didn't let me take it back, totally understandable. But, you know, you got to make sure you remember those effects before you link them off. I have a tendency sometimes to just get carried away with certain things and tunnel vision on certain things and just outright overlook things completely because I was trying to play too fast, whatever it may be, and it can definitely punish you, and it will punish you. You just got to stop and think about, okay, if I use this, kind of like check all your boxes before you continue on with your play. So we go ahead and get our Wave search here. Then we go ahead and link into the Bubble Reef, and from there we basically just pass turn. A little weird that we have just a Blue Slug on field. I mean, I had to make it so I had a water in hand to discard for Triangle. We have our graveyard follow-up secured also with Triangle now, and we also get our standby phase draw. which is also important. We draw into Imperm. We have Wave, we have Ash, we have Valor. So we don't really have any actual follow-up in our hand. The only follow-up we're relying on right now is the follow-up we have in Grave. And unfortunately, all of the Marincess like main deck monsters are banished right now, so that's also kind of rough. My opponent is going to have Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is going to come in very clutch to go ahead and trade with pretty much the entire field. And then he's going to go ahead and activate Long Yun, discarding Long Yun. And he wanted to go ahead and make sure he could double check with what Wave does. But, you know, obviously if I don't have any Marincess Link monsters on field, I literally cannot even resolve Wave. You have to have at least a Link 1 Marincess on the field to even use it while it's just set. You need a Link 3 higher to use it while it's in hand. And then he's going to go for the Qixing here and swing for 29. And that is going to do it for his turn. So, and we draw Pot of Desires for turn, which is fantastic. So I get why he went for the Qixing here. It's 2 interruptions as opposed to just with 1, like something like Baron would be. And it can also burn and put me on a bit of a clock here. So this is also something that's interesting too. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I have Imperm in hand, right? Or no, I have Gozen Match. I have Gozen Match. Okay, so I was going to say, if I had Imperm, I don't know why I didn't just start with Imperm on the Qixing. We then go ahead and draw into Crow, triple tactics talent. The Crow being in the main deck still, obviously, because I didn't have really much else to take out for this particular matchup. So we have pretty much all defensives in our hand right now, which is really unfortunate. And I'm just trying to force out this Qixing at all costs like possible here. So we're going to go ahead and bring out both the Coral Triangle and the Slug off the Triangle, or the Coral Anemone and the Slug off the Triangle. And interestingly enough there, he does not fire the Qixing. I was really expecting him to do it there, but he just decided not to. And now that we have Marbled Rock on field, we're kind of like in a decent position right now. It's just unfortunate that we have no names to get back out of the grave to keep playing. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to Wave as my opponent. I think he tried to banish the Marbled Rock on summon. And I had to chain the Wave there, or I might have just waved it and he chained the Qixing too. I think that's what happened, and now he's gotten rid of Wave, which is important for him. And then I go ahead and resolve triple tactics to hit the last card out of his hand. And from there, I just basically am sitting on hand traps. And there's real no way I can get over this Qixing without making a very, very weird play. And I'm going to show you guys what that really weird play is. I have not normal summoned yet at this point. The Qixing is turned off right now. It is waved. Our Marbled Rock is technically unaffected by my opponent's card effects, which is, you know, whatever. But I have to make a very, very awkward play right now to be able to continue. I'm going to go ahead and recycle before, you know, I get ahead of myself again. I'm going to recycle with Marbled Rock's Graveyard effect to go ahead and put back the Bubble Reef. We got the Wave back off the enemy. We're going to normal summon DD Crow now. And I normal this so I can go into Iria. Iria effect will trigger once I crash it into the Qixing to take, I think it does 1150 or 1050 damage. And that's going to allow me to go ahead and search a copy of Spring Girl. I already normal summoned to this point, so I can't grab Blue Tang. I just need a way to keep playing. And this is the only line that I saw to be able to do that. I already have the Wave in hand, or the Dive in hand. Now I just need to make sure, I have Battle Ocean still in deck, and I do, luckily. I mill a Pascalis off the top, so I burn my opponent. We go ahead and activate the Battle Ocean, dive from deck, summon out the Blue Tang, dump a Seahorse, and then we're going to go ahead and link into a Splash Mage. At this point, I did not use Anemone's effect to revive yet, so I think I can still get into the board that I want to get into. So we're going to go ahead and link into Splash Mage with the Blue Tang, and or link in a Anemone with the Splash Mage and the Blue Tang. We're going to go ahead and equip, and then we're going to go ahead and bring back the Splash Mage, and that's going to get us into a link 4 of Aqua Argonaut, which is really great. So main phase 2, being able to go into Aqua Argonaut just off of that unique play of crashing that Iria that I normal summon DD Crow for. I thought that was super cool line. One of the reasons I wanted to go over this particular game. So I set Gozen Match. My opponent draws Effect Veiler for turn. Extremely unfortunate. Like, about as unfortunate as I could possibly get. I have Ash Veiler, and he can't do anything other than just turn the Qixing to defense, which is very unfortunate. Even if he would have drew a name, the Gozen Match would have definitely gone in, because he would have chained the Qixing to that, and there I would have chained Veiler, and at that point, I think he's just out of luck, being stuck with just fire monsters on field, or whatever he decided to keep. On my turn, I start with Pascalus to add back dive, battle phase, run over the Chi-Shing, so I can play freely here in main phase 2, because I'm very low on life points because of the damage I took last turn. Dive is going to summon from deck, summon out the blue Tang, dump another Seahorse, go into Slug, attempt to add back, and we're also going to activate 3, and we do find a Seahorse, so we're going to take not the Seahorse, but the Pascalus, so we can go ahead and get another body out of our hand and onto the board. And then we're going to activate Goes in Match here, just so I'm safe from Nibiru. And then we're going to go into Bahamut, into Toad, and pass turn. He draws an Ash for turn. And at this point, I think no matter what he drew, it's definitely just not winnable at this point. Again, it's super unfortunate that my opponent had to brick. And yeah, he's just going to set the Ash. We're just going to, you know, turn the Bahamut Shark to attack, activate dive, summon from deck, summon out the Seahorse, Aqua Argonaut, bounce them back, open up the field, and swing in for a game. And that is going to do it. And my opponent showed me his really, really unfortunate hand of 3 Longyan, Lightning Storm, Ash. Felt kind of bad. That's how the last match had to play out. But it is what it is. That happens sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh! To everybody. But yeah, I wanted to showcase that cool play. You know, show some of the mistakes I made there. And I think this match really kind of brought some of those out. So let's go ahead and continue on with our Saturday tournament experience and see if we can clutch out that 4-0. All right, everybody, welcome to the 4th and final round of locals. We are 3 wins, 0 losses deep into this tournament. We need to win 1 more to secure a 4-0 finish and hopefully take first place if our tiebreakers will allow that. I know this episode's been very long. There was a lot of stuff I wanted to cover in this episode that I couldn't cover in the previous episode, and everybody that's still watching, I really, really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments if you made your way through the entire video. But, so yeah, here we are in round 1. This is game 1 against Tyr, and I also really didn't feel like a complete episode if I couldn't get a matchup reviewing the Tyr element matchup. So here we are doing that. I had Bell and Imperm for my opponent. I definitely Impermed a Kit Kalos. I know there's a glare on it, and you guys really can't see that. He was still able to get into a Kaleido Heart using a Polymerization, I believe. And I'm not sure what else I belled. I think I belled some other name. But either way, my opponent is able to get to Kit Kalos with a set Solic, and I think I know it's Solic. I also have another Bell in hand. The other set is also unknown. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with Sign Up Mining, discarding a copy of Seahorse. This is going to go through, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Pascalus here. I always like grabbing Pascalus in this matchup to help play around Meta Noise. But my opponent does have the Solic, is going to send off the Kaleido Heart. With the Solic to attempt to negate, he's going to use its effect to summon itself back, and I do negate it with Bell. I don't think necessarily that was a good Bell. I think I should have held the Bell for something else, because him just getting Kaleido Heart back on field, you know, why do I really care about that, I guess? So we're going to go and search our dive still, bring back the Pascalus, go into Coral Triangle, we're going to bring back the Seahorse, and we're going to link here into Blue Slug to add back the Seahorse, and then we're going to go ahead and link into the Coral Triangle. We're going to get the add back off of our Anemone, which is going to be that of the Pascalus, and now I have the free discard here for Triangle. And since I have not used the effect of Seahorse in hand to special summon itself yet, we can still at least establish our, you know, our link for play, which is not going to be that powerful at this current state in the game, because, you know, he does have Solic already established. He does have, I think, is a Kit Kalos on the field. I wish that glare wasn't there, but I believe it is a Kit Kalos. So we're going to go ahead and summon the Seahorse now and link either into Bubble Reef or Aqua Argonaut. I debated on possibly going for the Aqua Argonaut to try to deal with one of his cards. Like, you know, maybe like bounce one of his cards. I wonder if I could have technically made Aqua Argonaut, removed one of the cards he had, and then used Coral Triangle, since he'd be the only one that controls a monster, and bring back the Anemone and, you know, a Link 1, and then make a Marbled Rock from there. Maybe that's something I could have potentially done, but I don't know if that necessarily would have been the move. It would have been in the realm of possibilities, but I just decided to go for the Bubble Reef play here. So during my standby phase, we'll obviously use the Bubble Reef to draw. We draw into Tactics. Not the best draw there. My opponent is going to lead by activating a Pearl Rhino over top of the one he already had. Then he's going to use Kit Kalos effect to attempt to bring back the Kaleido Heart. I probably should have waived there. But now my opponent is going to get Kaleido Heart back on the field, and also the graveyard effect of Kit Kalos to mill 5. And with Solic on field, you know, I try to stop the Kaleido Heart, but he can chain the Solic to go ahead and tribute the Kaleido Heart off the field, or send it off the field, and negate the Bubble Reef, making it so the wave misses its target, and thus making it so Bubble Reef will not be unaffected by my opponent's cards. So with that sequence of events there, he is able to remove the Bubble Reef. I definitely should have just waived the Kaleido Heart. Looking back, or not the Kaleido Heart, the Kit Kalos. Looking back, that was a huge mistake. My opponent is going to get the effects of his, Shaylin, and he's going to go ahead and put them back to go ahead and summon another Kit Kalos, and then the Kaleido Heart is going to come back. And then Kit Kalos is going to summon himself out, send him early, and then he's going to go ahead and go into Drago Stapelia. And it's not even the fact that his end board is going to be super extravagant, in terms of negates and stuff, right? It's just a Drago Stapelia and a Solic, but he just has game on board with the Pearl Rhino boosting everything up. That is just going to be game out, right? I have no way to interact with him any further, and he's definitely going to be able to put AK on field. So let's take a look at game 2. And yeah, real quick, one major takeaway from game 1 there. Definitely should not have belled that Kaleido Heart, and I should have held the wave for that Kit Kalos that he had on field. I think waiting to use the wave until later on was definitely a mistake. Definitely forgot about the on-field effect of Kit Kalos. Although, to be fair, he still could have dodged wave with the Solic, so I don't even think my use of wave there was the issue. I think it was just the fact that he had Solic and I had no way to properly deal with it. So I wanted to cover those bases before we move into game 2, but let's take a look at it. Obviously, I am going to go first. My opponent opens up Triple Tactics, Lava Golem, and Droll, like in a Merly. So he opened pretty well. We opened up Called By, though, Sign Up Mining, Sleepy Maiden. So a pretty stacked hand for us as well. Now, I'm really happy I sided in that Call By because my man thought he was slick with the Droll, but we did have the Call By for it and we're able to keep going. So we're going to normal summon out the Blue Tang, activate its effect here. Deciding carefully on what I want to send because I do want to set up that Dweller play. We know we side Dweller for this matchup, so we need to get access to it. And sending in a level 4 body is just going to be the way to go here. And our Blue Tang hits, so we get a free blue or a Seahorse, and we get our Spring Girl. So we're going to summon Spring Girl out by banishing the Tang. We mill 2 non-Marincess cards, but we still secure our copy of Battle Ocean. Then we're going to activate the Battle Ocean, and then we're going to go ahead and link 2 into Anemone. Activating the field spell to go ahead and equip both Slug and the Sea Angel. Anemone is going to revive that Spring Girl, and then we're going to go ahead and link 3 into Coral Triangle. Anemone is going to add back, and we're going to go ahead and equip 3. We added back the Spring Girl. Now we're going to discard that Seahorse we had in our hand to go ahead and search Wave. And right now, the only thing left to do is to try to establish a rank 4 play, and also get into something like Argonaut. Ideally, that would be the best thing. So we're going to go ahead and activate Dive. Dive is going to summon out a Pascalis from deck. We have not used Pascalis from deck, or a Pascalis effect at all. So we're going to go ahead and bring out Spring Girl, overlay for Abyss Dweller, activate Desires in main phase 2. Hopefully we can draw into a name to some way to complete a Link 4 play. And I think I do. I draw another Seahorse. Very, very loyal card. So we're able to get into Argonaut plus Deep Sea Diva. Not Deep Sea Diva. Abyss Dweller. Argonaut plus Abyss Dweller. And 1 set. The only thing I think I did not have there that could have made that so much better is the fact that I did not have a Gozen match. I also, used the Dweller in the draw phase or the standby phase to make sure he could not punish, with a Lava Golem. So now, even though my entire field is gone, I still Dwellered him, and we're still getting a card back off Anemone. You always want to use the Dweller in the draw phase or the standby phase to protect against things like Lava Golem. So yeah, my board might be cleared, but the thing is, my opponent is not going to be able to resolve any tier limit effects this entire turn, and that is a huge, huge takeaway. My opponent is going to go ahead and resolve Desires. And he did draw into a Triple Tactics. I was able to add a Spring Girl back off the Anemone. And he is going to take, I think, the smart play here and look at my hand and rip out the only name that I have. I don't know if there was another way I could have secured potentially more follow-up. But, if he has Tactics, he has Tactics. So now it's down to the wire. I have to draw something to be able to play here. And I rip into a Sign Up Mining. Oh man, it feels good. We're going to take that 1,000 damage. We're going to activate Sign Up Mining, discarding the wave to go ahead and search Blue Tang, and then activate Blue Tang effect, and we still have plenty of gas left in deck to be able to keep going here to make a play. And, we're definitely not going to fumble the bag this time around like we did last week against the same player playing the same deck. We made a huge mistake if you guys saw that. We're not going to make it again. So we're going to go Chainlink 1 Battle Ocean, Chainlink 2 Blue Slug, Chainlink 3 Blue Tang. We get a free Pascalis and we get a free Seahorse, and we're also going to go ahead and equip 3. And now at this point, we just have to go for a game. It's going to be very, very easy to do so. We have a 3,000 Lava Golem. We have a 3,500 Blue Slug, and a 1,600 attack Seahorse. So that is just going to be game. So he's going to take 35 and 3k from the Lava Golem and the Slug, and then another 16 on top of that, which is going to be 75 plus 600, which is 8,100 damage. And we're able to take it right there. We don't need to do anything fancy. Don't need to play into any other hand traps. We just need to go for game as quickly as possible. Dweller came in so clutch there, boys. Let's take a look at game 3. Now, don't blink because you might miss game 3. It went very, very fast. My opponent does lead with Desires. I ash it, and my opponent is just going to outright scoop right then and there. Extremely unfortunate. He opened triple droll polymerization. We didn't draw into a name. And, you know, he showed me what he would have drawn off of his Desires. It was Instant Fusion Merly. That's just a casual Mill 8 combo coming if I did not have Ash for that. And my next draw was a Wave. So I would have started my turn with no way to play. I would have had to have started the Desires. Obviously, he would not have had a way to stop it. And we need to draw into something very, very fast. And if we didn't, we have DD Crow and we have Foolish Return to try to keep him off plays there. I only wish I would have resolved the Desires hypothetically to see if I would have drawn into a potential name. But yeah, that's unfortunately how the 4th round is going to wrap up. But a win is a win, giving us our first 4-0 finish in the last week of One Deck One Month. Man, oh man, it felt really, really good. And if you guys want to see the winning profile, I'll put a link to it up here in the top right for you guys to check out. Don't miss it. All right, so that wraps up locals. After the whole month is over, we ended up amassing 90 store credit. I might have earned some more prior and spent it, but 90 is a pretty good chunk. We also got our OTS pack for getting 3-1 or better, and we actually ended up going 4-0, getting first place exactly, which is amazing. And what a time to get the first 4-0 here at the very end of the last Saturday. Really good match against Connor, except for that game 3. He opened the worst possible hand I've seen in a long time. Desires, triple droll, poly. I had the Ash for the Desires, and he just scooped immediately after. Was not expecting it, but it is what it is. We're going to go pick our prize for the month. 90 credit. We'll save the bonus OTS pack opening for later. We're probably going to pull another Trap Eater, which is what I pulled earlier for our entry pack. But yeah, feeling really happy about this. Very, very good way to end the series. Welcome everybody to the wrap up here in the 4th and final episode of One Deck One Month featuring Marincess Act 2. I gotta say, this is our most successful rerun of a deck so far. Granted, we've only done 2. First it was Speedroids, and now Marincess. We're definitely going to be doing Earth Machine again at some point. We'll be doing Photon Galaxy again at some point. So we'll have some opportunities to do more Act 2 versions of this series. But I gotta say, right now, and honestly, I want to say overall, somebody can fact check me on this, but I think this is the best we've done overall throughout the course of this entire series history. You know, in terms of our record or our overall win rate with the deck, I think this has to be the best. I don't know if that's a combination of me becoming better as a player and a deck builder, or the deck we decided to play this format, or for this series, it's just a really good pick, this format. So over the course of this, 4 episode series, you guys have been keeping tally, and I should have been posting updates at the end of each episode, which is something I need to start doing more. I need to keep track of our store credit count, our OTS polls, etc., and our overall win-loss, etc. I need to be doing a better job at keeping track of that in terms of the editing, because sometimes I forget to talk about it, but I digress. Our overall record, if you guys have been keeping track, is 16-4 at the end of the 4th and final week, because we played only on 1 local for the first 3 weeks, ended up going 3-1 in each of those, and then we played in 2 locals in the 4th and final week, going 3-1 on Tuesday and 4-0 on the Saturday. So I think that calculates to a 75% win rate with the strategy. Really, really happy with that, and honestly, I'm very surprised with the deck, how good of a pick it's been, honestly. Like, Marincess, even post Power of the Elements, still feels like a really strong deck because it's like, you know, like most Cybers decks, a lot of 1-card starters, and plenty of room for hand traps and going second cards. Triple Tactics Talents just fits like a glove in the deck because the deck can just eat through hand traps sometimes. And most of the times, your opponent will hand trap you in the completely wrong spot, or they'll hand trap you in a spot where they think they have to, and then you just have other cards that you didn't need that search to resolve anyways, and then you just Talents, take a look at their hand. Like, Talents is such a strong card when you can consistently resolve the effect to look at the opponent's hand. That's what makes the card broken, in my opinion. Not really so much the take, not really so much the draw too, but the fact that you can just look at your opponent's hand and rip a card out is insane while you continue to do your combo. Helps you build a better end board, etc., etc. So, like, really happy with the deck. Honestly, like I said, surprised with how well the deck performed. The turn 3 end boards this deck was putting up over the course of yesterday's locals, it was like insane. Like, putting up some incredible boards. You know, Bahamut, Toad, Argonaut, Bubble Reef, Bahamut's, or not Bahamut's, the Stealth Kragan, Bubble Reef, Argonaut, you know, popping a card, bouncing a card, boosting up Bubble Reef to huge attack points to get over pretty much anything we needed it to. And either securing game right then and there, or definitely securing it on the follow-up. Like, really just perform like a well-oiled machine. And yeah, just also the Mandarin pick, MVP. MVP. I'm hereby declaring it that Mandarin is mandatory in Marincess. I don't think anybody should play the third Pascalus. I think if you're going to play a third Pascalus, it probably should just be Mandarin at the end of the day. You know, you might be wondering, like, well, what about more opportunities for rank 4s? That is true, although the early rank 4 plays, like early Bahamut plays, in my personal opinion, in my personal experience, only ever comes up with 3-card combos, which is Pascalus plus any other Marincess level 4 plus Spring Girl or Dive. And it just plays really hard into Imperm, and at that point, if they have an Nibiru on top of that, then they have an Nibiru on top of that, I guess. But, like, I just don't like it being a 3-card combo, so I kind of wanted to get out of the idea of, you know, trying to, like, consistently resolve that rank 4 play when I would have, like, access to a completely different name in deck as an extender to help play through interruptions, which I think I already talked about earlier in this episode, so I won't continue to talk about it anymore. But again, 16-4 record. I think we had over 90 store credits. Yeah, really good turnout. Not a single ulti was pulled over the course of the entire month. I did pull decent out of the box that I opened. I think I pulled an Instant Contact and a Draco Utopian Aura were my 2 secrets, so terrible box in that sense. But my ultras, 2 good ultras, were Sprite Starter and Tearlament's Rhinoheart, so can't really complain so much about that. Now, on to the last part of this episode here. The deck we are going to be playing next for One Deck One Month is going to be the Rika Sanavalon deck. Now, in terms of logistics and when and how this episode is going to go up, like how the next series is going to go up, there's one kind of major roadblock. Like, YCS Niagara is going to be, if I start this series very, very soon, YCS Niagara is going to be right in the middle of that, and I don't know how, like, first of all, I don't know what deck I'm going to be playing there. It's still up in the air. It's going to be either Marincess or Rika. It's still up in the air at this point, so I don't know. And I don't know if I necessarily want to start One Deck a Month in the middle of that prep. I might wait till after. I might make the first week right after the YCS. I might make a separate video surrounding the YCS. I'm not entirely sure. But we are going to be playing Rika Sun Avalon next. And everybody who guessed that as the next deck, congratulations. You win a thumbs up. But yeah, that is going to do it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed this whole series. Sorry the last 3 episodes went up as late as they did. My apologies. I'll try to make the next 4 go up, in a regular schedule as I possibly can. So, it's always Winner Kill signing out, guys. We'll see you in the next one. And of course, last but certainly not least, a huge thank you goes to our Divine Level channel members who are Pony Stark, Cadillacs84, Justin Lamb, HCH Cyber, and Mango. Thank you guys so much for your extremely kind and very generous support of this channel.